Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Today Television. I'm Sakshi Batra. White House trade advisor Peter Navarro has repeated his oil money laundromat for the Kremlin charge at India yet again, saying proceeds flow to politically connected energy titans. Now, the White House trade advisor, who had on Wednesday also told Bloomberg that the Russia-Ukraine conflict is Modi's war, shot off a series of posts on X that has ended with a picture of Prime Minister Narendra Modi in saffron robes and in a meditative pose as well. Now, the key question after his series of posts will be to really understand why there is a repetitive attempt from Peter Navarro's side to attack India consistently. To discuss with me on this topic, I have with us Pranay Upadhyay of India Today Global. He's the editor. Warm welcome to you, Pranay. Thank you so much for taking the time out for this. I think the key question here will be to try and understand why is India being singled out and attacked for buying oil from Russia when Peter Navarro has himself accepted that there are other countries like even the EU and China that have been also buying Russian oil. So why are we singled out as a country to be imposed with highest ever tariffs when we talk about globally, and why so much of an angst against India?
This remains not billion, but $1 trillion question, Sakshi, that why India is being targeted by the Trump administration and why India is being singled out by the Trump administration, and especially the people like Peter Navarro. But let us deal this issue one by one. Who is the most vocal voice as far as this so-called anti-India stance of Trump administration? It's, I think, Peter Navarro. Now, the way he has written articles in the newspapers, the way he's speaking, then the way he's posting on the social media timeline. If you see and search the social media timeline of Peter Navarro, not since January 2025 when he joined the Trump team again, but if you see since 2020, you could make out that there is a bias in Mr. Peter Navarro's tweets and his social media posts against India as well as Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Let me draw your attention to one of his tweets of, from June 2023. What he writes, he says that while India should be natural ally of US, communist China has invaded it twice and poses an existential threat from ships in the Indian Ocean and large bombers and fighter jets bases in Tibet. Now the final line, read it. India and Modi cannot really be trusted to have our back. This is what Peter Navarro said, and this is just a one tweet about his ideas and what are his thoughts. You can see on his social media timeline, it's publicly available, that what has been his thoughts about China and about India as well. So he is putting both India and China in one basket, which is very contrary to the strategic perception of United States, the strategic community of United States, and the way people, those who have really worked hard to build this strategic partnership between India and United States over the course of 2.5 decades. So definitely, Peter Navarro and his own credentials are in question when he speaks about India. Now let's talk about numbers as well. The entire argument or the entire this thing that India is profiteering out of oil export, why India is buying Russian oil.
Absolutely. Pranay, just hold that thought. For our viewers, I would just like to read out the tweet that mentions this. Peter Navarro has mentioned in his third thread of tweet, he said that Indian refiners with their silent Russian partners refine and flip the black market oil for big profits on the international market, while Russia pockets hard currency to fund its war on Ukraine. Now, you were trying to explain to us whether the numbers justify what he is, putting the acquisition against India for.
Actually, Mr. Navarro, you definitely expect better arguments from Mr. Navarro because he's a PhD from Harvard University. But here, I think his maths went wrong because if you see the mathematics, if you see the numbers here, let's see the India's petroleum export. If you see the figures of 2021-22, because this war broke out in February of 2022. So if you see the petroleum export figures of India in year 2021 and 2022, it was around $67.5 billion. What are the figures currently? If you see the 2024-25 petroleum export figures, they are largely around the same figure, the $70.3 billion approximately. And if you see the first quarter result of India's petroleum export in January 2025, it registered a decline of 14%. So definitely, the entire argument, the entire allegation of India profiteering out of this cheap Russian oil is doesn't find its basis in numbers. At least statistics are not corroborating what Mr. Peter Navarro is saying. Besides that, if you see why India is buying and what has happened since 2022, and especially in 2022, when this war broke out, India being the large importer of energy in the global market, we wanted a steady and a sure source of energy for us, and that remains a key concern for India because we have to ensure the energy security for 1.4 billion people. And we have to fuel our economy. We are a developing economy. We are an energy deficit country, and that's why we have to source it. When India tried getting more oil from the traditional sources, US being a global superpower, they ensured that the Europe which decided to exercise a self-sanction on Russian oil imports and Russian gas import. They relied on the West Asia market. The West Asia market declined to increase the production. There are press releases available on the OPEC website clearly saying that OPEC is not in favor of increasing the oil production. Then India was left with which option? India have to ensure the energy security for 1.4 billion people, and that's why we also adhere to the Western price cap, as well as we took our partners in United States in confidence, and there has been on record statement by US officials, by the former US ambassador to India when he was in India, Mr. Eric Garcetti, in an interview to India Today itself, he said he acknowledged, and he not only acknowledged, he appreciated India's effort in stabilizing the global oil prices by buying the Russian oil.
Absolutely. Now, Pranay, help us understand with the tone used by Peter Navarro in these, tweets and posts that he has made on X. It seems it's not just critical of an economy and its policies and its ways. It also seems inflammatory. How would one be able to justify if this is a serious policy argument, a foreign policy argument, or this is just posturing aimed at probably appealing to an anti-global sentiment? And, how does one really understand if this line of criticism really risks to damage decades-old relationship that India has with US?
Definitely, it has damaged, and I would say that even in due course of time, if India-US relations improve, we have seen, people in India have long-standing. We have a civilizational memory, and we do not forget things very easily because people in India still talk about 1971 and the kind of role played by the United States. And if this thing has happened, this has again reinforced, belief of certain section of people in India that can we rely on United States? Can US be a trusted partner? And the trust deficit will eventually, it get translated in various policy hurdles. It get, affect the various projects which India and United States are trying to pursue. But having said that, if you see what Peter Navarro is trying to do, I think he's trying to be a loudmouth. He's trying to justify what he has said because this has come at a time when people in United States, not from the Democratic, not from the political opponent of Mr. Trump, but even within the MAGA camp are questioning President Trump and his team's decision to impose 50% tariff on India. Many people in the strategic circles are also questioning, and they are, they are asking the Trump administration and people like Peter Navarro to justify the rationale behind, these kind of harsh decisions. And especially you spare your partner, you be lenient to your partner, and especially at a time when you need them strategically. Like if you talk about the Indo-Pacific strategy of the United States, like across the party lines, there has been a bipartisan support that India is pivotal for the Indo-Pacific strategy of the United States. So what can be the rationale, what can be the argument to risk that partnership and for such kind of decisions?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you also see there's a marked difference between how the stance is, different of Mr. Peter Navarro vis-a-vis some of the other secretaries like the Commerce and Trade Secretary? They are not so agitated and they do not come out with such violent messages at this point in time. How do you see this contrast play out?
The tone, tenor, and phrasing of the statement might be different, Sakshi, but we could see that there is increased pressure on India. We do not know really that what is the ultimate aim and objective, because we are trying to read between the lines as well. Because if you see the sanctions regime of United States has actually pushed India to buy more oil from the United States in order to to bridge the trade deficit with the United States. We decided to buy more oil from United States, and like currently from the India's oil import basket, there is the 4% contribution of the United States. So like around 4% of our 55 lakh barrel per day import we buy from the United States. So we cannot say with surety right now that is it a push or a pull to increase to rather coerce, if I may use this strong word, to India to buy more U.S. oil. We do not know right now because the intentions are not clear as of now. But if you see the statement by the Scott Bessent, you mentioned about U.S. Treasury Secretary's statement or Mr. Howard Lutnick's statement, they might not be using such strong or harsh words as they are being used by Mr. Peter Navarro, but the tone remains the same. They want to put pressure on India. We see this as a pressure politics. Definitely, they want India to give in a certain concessions in trade negotiations on certain other sectors. So I think they are creating this argument of this oil purchase from Russia to create a pressure and asking for some relaxation, some concessions on some fields in some other sectors, I believe.
Absolutely. Pranay, another important key understanding that we would want to draw from you is that if the US continues with this stance to punish its strategic partners for not acting in its own interest, what message does it really send out, to the other emerging powers who are trying to still balance out their multipolar relationships? Do you think this will also push further, a closer alignment of the non-Western blocs?
If you see President Donald Trump, his approach and his arguments, he's certainly for the unipolar world. This entire thing of his campaign, the entire slogan of MAGA, "Make America Great Again." So in a global order where America is great, there should be space for other countries to excel as well, and there should be a space for other alliances. If you flip the argument, if tomorrow India decides to ask that why United States is supporting Pakistan, why United States is dealing with China, why United States is dealing, it makes us uncomfortable. If you are asking India to show the loyalty, to exhibit that whether if they are democracy, they shouldn't be dealing with China or Russia, then how can they justify they have a $500 billion trade with China? They have, there has been significant increase, like around 23% increase in the bilateral trade between Russia and United States since President Donald Trump assumed office. President Donald Trump himself has invited President Vladimir Putin in Anchorage in Alaska on 15th of August, and those talks were not limited to Russia-Ukraine war. Mind it, Sakshi, because President Vladimir Putin traveled to Alaska with a huge business delegation, and that was acknowledged and appreciated by President Donald Trump himself. So we cannot overlook these facts. So it's a multipolar world. India is also diversifying its option. India is trying to diversify its interest in post-COVID. Globally, everyone has realized that it's a time to diversify the logistics supply chain, the sourcing, the market for the exports. So every country is deciding as per their own national interest.
Absolutely. Lastly, Pranay, just help us understand, the last statement in the series of posts that has been done that puts the onus on New Delhi, as far as the Russia-Ukraine war is concerned. One, is this an unrealistic expectation from a country that's completely neutral and not even a party to the war or the countries in question? Two, what would be a more balanced, neutral, respectful, realistic US-India relationship and partnership? How would that look like in contrast to Navarro's, confrontational framing?
Sakshi, as it happened with even best of your friends, you put certain limits. Look, these are the limits of your individuality as well, your own space as well. In best of the relationship also, you expect your partner to respect those lines. Similarly, countries, as famously said, in diplomacy and in foreign policy, that there are no friends and there are no foes in foreign policy. There are only permanent interests. So there are no permanent friends, there are no permanent foes, but there are permanent interests, and every country guards its own national interest. Here, we have to see that in any partnership, how much congruence, how much convergence we can find in building this relationship, to find the middle ground, the convergence on our approach on various aspects, how to this world to be governed, this world to be run, and our affairs to be managed. If you see what India expects respect of its sovereignty, respect of the limitation of India being a developing country. India is the most populous country on this planet, and you have to respect that reality. That remains a reality. We have our own obligation to uplift a huge population of India out of poverty. India's story, if you see, Sakshi, in last 75 years, it has been a remarkable story of success, which was acknowledged by many experts, by many previous leaders in the United States. See, since year 2000, when President Bill Clinton visited India, thereafter we have seen a continuous positive trajectory, a continuously upward trajectory of India-US relationship. This has been a first dip, you can say, in that strategic partnership, because we have enjoyed the bipartisan support, be it Republican Party, be it Democratic Party in United States, and so is in New Delhi as well. That be it it's Congress-led UPA or be it BJP-led NDA, both parties have supported, and it helps in our strategic vision to partner with the United States, which is the largest economy, which is a big consumer country, and that's why we are looking at more access. But the entire principle of reciprocity. Look, what if we are being called tariff Maharajas or tariff kings? These tariff, you know it better, Sakshi, that these tariff lines or these tariff rates are being decided as per the WTO norms. India is only adhering to the WTO provisions, whatever we have committed in a World Trade Organization. It is the United States which is not respecting the WTO commitments.
Absolutely, fair point there. Thank you so much, Pranay, for helping our viewers really understand, why this seems unfair as a positioning that US and names like Mr. Peter Navarro, how they are coming out in open and not refraining from leaving any stone unturned to continue to attack India for something that we do not deserve at this point in time. So let's hope sanity prevails and we go forward to see better talks which are on the lines of foreign policy, and we see that there is a win-win on all accounts. Thank you so much for being with us on this program. All right, viewers, we wrap it up on that note. Do stay tuned on to Business Today Television as more news and coverage continues from the world of business and finance.
% tariff on exports to the United States market as against the original 10% before start of the tariff situation. As we have seen, it is the US consumer who has to bear this brunt of all these additional tariffs, and the Indian industry